There was a boy sitting alone in a classroom, and no one really noticed him, but his silence was not normal. It felt like something deeper was hidden inside him. Every single day, he sat in the same corner watching others laugh, talk, and live, while he slowly started feeling like he didn't even belong in that world. One day, he raised his hand, hoping someone would finally see him, but what happened next quietly broke something inside him. No one even turned to look. After that moment, he slowly stopped trying, not because he gave up completely, but because something inside him started changing in silence. At lunchtime, the same empty space beside him stayed silent again, and in that silence, he started understanding something painful about his own existence. He showed his drawing to others, hoping for just one smile, but the reaction he got made him slowly pull back into himself again. No appreciation, no words, just people walking away, and that moment stayed with him longer than anyone could imagine. Books became his only world, but even inside that world, he was not reading just stories, he was escaping something he couldn't explain. Late one night, he started writing something different in his notebook, something personal, something he never showed anyone, not even once. When he looked in the mirror for a second, he froze because the boy staring back at him didn't look like someone who would ever be seen. Outside the window, life was loud, colorful, moving fast, but for him it felt like watching a world he was never invited into. But then, something unexpected happened. He helped someone quietly without thinking, and that small act created a strange feeling inside him. For the first time, he felt something different. Not happiness exactly, but the feeling of being useful even if no one noticed it. A small plant beside him kept growing slowly day by day, and strangely he started comparing himself to that plant, silent but still alive. While everyone slept peacefully, he stayed awake studying, not because he wanted attention, but because he felt like he had to build himself from zero. He closed his book slowly, but his thoughts didn't stop. Something inside him was quietly preparing for a change. Even he didn't fully understand it yet. The way he started walking changed not suddenly, but slowly, like someone who had survived something without anyone noticing. The first time he spoke in front of the class, the room didn't react at first, but then slowly everyone started paying attention for the first time. A simple handshake happened, nothing special on the outside, but inside him it felt like the start of a completely different life. And slowly, something changed in the way people looked at him, not because he asked for attention, but because something about him could no longer be ignored. Something inside him had changed, not suddenly, but quietly over time, like a storm building in silence. He started noticing something strange. The same pain he once felt in himself was now visible in others too. One day, he saw another child sitting alone, and for a moment, it felt like looking into his own past. Instead of walking away, he did something unexpected. He chose to sit beside him. That small moment of kindness felt simple on the outside, but powerful enough to change everything inside. He began helping others, not for attention, but because he understood what silence really feels like. And slowly, people started reacting differently, like they were seeing a version of him they never noticed before. His work started getting noticed, but he didn't feel proud yet. He just felt something unfamiliar: respect. Even then, he stayed quiet because deep inside, he still remembered the version of himself who was ignored. That memory never left him. It became the reason he never looked down on anyone again. He started writing his thoughts not as homework, but as a way to understand his own pain. Every page he filled felt like removing a small piece of weight from his heart. Slowly, he stopped asking why me and started asking what can I do with this? That shift changed everything about him. Even his silence started to feel powerful. Now when he spoke, people listened, not because he spoke loudly, but because his words carried experience. He began guiding others, especially the ones who felt invisible just like he once was. And every time he helped someone, a part of his own past quietly healed. But deep down, one question still stayed with him: would anyone ever understand what he went through? He never said it out loud, but that question shaped everything he did from that day forward. And slowly, the same world that once ignored him started remembering him for something far more powerful than attention. After everything changed, he returned to the place where it all began, his old school. Every step inside that building brought back memories, some he wanted to forget, and some he never could. He saw the same classroom, and for a moment he was no longer grown up. He was that same invisible child again. The silence of that room felt different now, because this time he was not weak inside it. He found his old desk, and just standing there, his past started speaking without words. He touched the desk slowly and realized that pain was never wasted, it was building him. For a second, everything blurred like the past and present were standing in the same moment. He looked outside the window and saw children laughing just like he once watched from the same place. But this time, he didn't feel left out. He felt something deeper understanding, because now he knew exactly what that silence meant and how dangerous it could become. He started doing something new, something he once needed the most. He started listening to others. Not just hearing words, but understanding the silence behind them. And slowly, children began opening up to him, as if they finally felt safe. He never interrupted, never judged, he just stayed there present. And that simple presence started changing lives without making noise. People began calling him helpful, kind, inspiring, but he still remembered who he used to be. That memory kept him humble, no matter how much people started noticing him, and he realized something powerful: the world doesn't change you, your response to pain does. And slowly he began turning his past into something meaningful for others. The same child who was once invisible was now becoming the reason others never felt invisible again. He walked out of the school gate, but this time, the past didn't feel like a chain, it felt like a lesson. Every place he visited now reminded him of one thing: growth doesn't happen in comfort. He sat alone sometimes, not because he was lonely anymore, but because he was thinking deeper than before. Old memories still came back, but now they didn't break him, they guided him. He started creating spaces for others, places where no child would feel invisible again. And slowly, those spaces began filling with voices that once stayed silent. He noticed something powerful: when someone is truly heard, they start healing. He never tried to be a hero, he just tried to be what he once needed. And that honesty made people trust him without hesitation. But deep inside, he still carried one silent truth. He never forgot the boy he used to be. That boy was still inside him, watching, reminding him where it all started. So every kind word he spoke was also healing his own past. Every child he helped was like fixing a version of himself from long ago. And slowly, that cycle of pain turned into purpose. He realized something deeply healing doesn't erase the past, it transforms it. People started respecting him, but he never chased respect, he chased meaning. Even silence around him now felt different. It was peaceful, not painful. And for the first time, he could sit quietly without feeling invisible. Because now, even his silence had value. The child who was once ignored had become the reason others finally felt seen. Now he stands in front of others, but this time, he is not there to be seen. He is there to help others be seen. Every word he speaks carries one simple truth: kindness can change what pain once destroyed. A small handshake, a simple smile, but for someone, it becomes a turning point in life. He listens carefully because he knows what it feels like when no one listens. And in those quiet moments, healing begins without anyone even realizing it. Children who once stayed silent now slowly start opening up around him. And he never rushes them because he knows silence has its own story. Sometimes just being there is more powerful than any advice. He understands that now because he once lived on the other side of silence. And that memory keeps him grounded no matter how much he grows. People start calling him strong, but they don't know his strength was built from being broken. Every child he helps feels like rewriting a part of his own past. And slowly, he starts to realize nothing in his pain was ever wasted. Even the moments he was ignored became the foundation of his purpose. He no longer asks why it happened. He understands what it created. And that understanding brings a kind of peace he never felt before. The world that once felt empty now feels full of meaning. Because now he is not just living his life, he is changing others. And quietly, without needing recognition, he becomes unforgettable. The child nobody saw finally becomes the reason so many others are seen. He returns to the empty classroom one last time, and this time, the silence doesn't hurt anymore. He slowly walks through the same place where he once felt invisible, but now he feels complete. Every corner of that room carries a memory, but none of them can break him now. He gently keeps his old memories together, not to forget them, but to respect them, because he finally understands healing doesn't mean erasing the past, it means accepting it. A new page opens in his life, and this time, he writes it with hope instead of pain. He looks outside and sees children laughing. And now, he knows he helped create that happiness. He walks forward not as the invisible child anymore, but as someone who truly matters. Every step he takes now carries gratitude for the pain that once shaped him. And in the end, the child nobody saw became the one nobody could ever forget.